Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson. I'm making professional trading simple. Welcome to our Sunday newsletter for all of my daily viewers. All right, so here we have a brand new week, and we are looking at the Dow here. I went and changed this a little bit, and this is the first time in a while I've really been able to draw in a trend line that connects lows to low. I haven't been able to do that in quite a while. So this was actually something I noticed just this weekend. I didn't notice it Friday night, and I don't spend a lot of time diving into that stuff on Friday. I'm exhausted from the week, and so I do it on the weekends, and I'm real interested by this. Now I really want to watch this week to see if we stay within this trading range, which for the Dow is right here about 99.50-ish, up here to about 10,100, and we've been kind of bouncing around in here. You can see after we broke through, we entered it, test, down here. So it's been back and forth in this little trading range. It'll be interesting to see if we fall through the bottom side of this and reach this bottom trend line. This particular pattern that we're seeing on a 60-minute looks very much like the potential beginnings of a rounded top. And if that is the case, we should see lower prices ahead sometime this week, actually. Could be tomorrow, could be later on in the week. But as you can see, we have this little green line drawn in here and then straight across. Now we might get another one that goes down at a slant like this. So very interesting to watch this on a 60-minute as it kind of rolls over. I mean, that's the appearance of it so far. This could also be just a big trading range high base that breaks to the upside. So we really need a break below here, and one that maybe comes back and touches this trend line. Ultimately, if you are a bear in this market, what you want to see is not a touch and a retreat of this trend line. You want to see this thing ultimately fall through and maybe revisit here before it bounces, and then come back up and retest this 20 period from the underside and hold if you're bearish. Otherwise, if it just comes down here and holds, that might give us a different pattern, which is not what the bears are looking for. It's not, it's not bullish for the long term necessarily, but it would still be bullish actually in the short term if it hit this line and bounced off of it. So a very, very interesting week to watch the markets. And at the end of this week, it is end of month. That will also be of great interest to a lot of the traders out there, especially the investment firms. So let's hop to the Dow Daily. You can see that we've done a lot of chopping right here. For about the last week or so, we had, as I said in the Friday videos, nothing but chop to the sideways, but not small chop. Large chop, if that makes any sense, meaning that the moves were much larger, giving us day traders something to at least do during the day instead of watch some of these little tiny 4, 5, 10-point all-day move type things that the S&P was doing for a while. The Dow, though, is back to the top of this channel, and notice how the top of this channel is holding very well so far, just as it has back here. But also notice that we get one day that usually pops up and maybe goes above it, like this one here, only to see it pull back down and then retreat. Maybe that's what we get here on a break over this 10,000 area. Watch for this upper channel to hold. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it goes up above it intraday only to come back to it by the end of the day, or maybe it closes over it for one day and then the following day comes back down. We don't know yet. But those are the type of things I am watching for. More importantly, if it moves to the downside, I'm looking to see if we get a little bounce off the 20-day. Can't imagine that we won't. Seems very, very likely that we always will. But if it does, then look for this lower trend and this 50 to hold on the way down. On the NDX 60-minute, you can see same type of a thing, kind of a little bit more abstract rounded top, but yet that same type of formation happening in the NASDAQ as it is in the Dow and as it is in the S&P. They're all looking kind of the same. But now we're watching for a break of kind of this little line down in here, especially this green one right here would be a big one. So once again, if you're looking for this rounded top to have any real bearishness to it, you want to see it fall down through here, maybe retest way down here before a pullback, as opposed to maybe hitting here or the 20 and pulling back. You want to see a little bit more bearish action. On a daily, this dotted line that I've had drawn in here for quite a while is holding extremely nicely to the upside. We are getting very, very overextended. I think it would be very difficult for the NASDAQ now to get up and above this trend line and stay up and above this trend line. So going forward, I'm going to be watching this trend line for resistance, and then if it ever gets up to that point, this upper trend line for resistance. But ultimately, I think this dotted line is going to end up holding in the future. Maybe we get one big blast over the top of it, but I don't think it's going to last. I think that at that point it'd be a fake out breakout to the upside and would probably reverse and come back down. NDX on a weekly, you can see we did hit the 1773 area, which is a 61.8% fib retrace of the entire bear market up to this point on the NASDAQ. Extremely strong. Go fig, techs usually are. But this has been just a very, very strong move by the techs over the last few months. SPX on a 60-minute. Here I drew in a few more trend lines, and here's that rounded top I'm telling you about. See how it comes up and over? So now we're watching to see where this takes us, but right now it's really kind of stuck in this channel here. We did get a jab to the outside here. It hit off this 1075 area, which I'm looking to maybe hold again. If it does not and gets down into this area, that's going to be definitely more bearish. But if this area holds, especially if this channel holds, this is going to just turn into a big, giant bull flag. So that's why we're watching it this next week. I mean, this is a nice rounded top that we're putting in, but there's nothing here that's broken from the bull side. This could just end up being a big bull flag right here. So we have to be very cautious. Any push up and over this 1095 area, you know, obviously is going to retest this 1100 area and maybe even higher. Maybe we then get this push up to this upper trend line once again and retest that that upper side. That would also coincide with this upper trend line here on the daily. So we're looking for maybe a pullback. Maybe we get a little bounce below here to the 1070 area just to kind of psych a few of the bears out and then a pull back up. I don't know. We're going to wait and watch and see what the charts tell us to do. I'm not going to make any predictions on what could happen, but I do have a plan going forward for what I am going to do if we see a move to the upside or a move to the downside. That's very important as a professional trader to know what you're going to do and to leave your bias out of it. I will let the charts tell me what to do here. Right now, all we're seeing is sideways action, and I still have to look at this as a bull flag until something else is broken to the downside. So we will be watching the first part of the week very closely here coming into the end of the month. Here we are still on a weekly in this rising wedge. This rising wedge is an interesting view on the weekly. Why? Because I see a lot of other stocks doing this exact same thing on a weekly basis, coming into this rising wedge. For those of you that are not that don't know, these rising wedges are actually bearish, and usually once the stock falls out of the bottom of these, that means lower prices ahead. We'll see if that comes to fruition this next week. The VIX has come down here, stopped right at the 20, and just kind of bounced sideways, much in the same that the markets did. As you can see on a weekly, we did retest the top of this trend line. If we see, I also drew in this other dotted trend line, which is another could be for instance type trend line for me, if that makes any sense. I like this trend line. I like the strength of it. I like that we're right below it here. Here you can see we came up above it, touched it, and was up above it for a day only to fall back below it the following day. Now we've retested it. We've retested it again this past week. So I like this dotted line as well as the next overhead resistance area along with the 200 and this previous resistance here. A lot of work for the VIX. You know, the VIX, I don't know if I trust so much the TA on the technical analysis on a VIX standpoint, but it sure is fun to watch. I do like to kind of follow it and see what the VIX is doing. Mostly because I like to trade options in some cases, and having a low VIX has actually made the options purchasing a lot easier for me because with the volatility out of the market, they're a lot less expensive at this point. So we'll see what happens going forward, but hopefully if I can get into some long-term options, and as the VIX climbs, so will my options. I'm looking forward to that.